Hello, I'm Karen Elgersma, and you're watching Go Island on Shaw TV. On today's show, the underground music scene, the flavors and traditions of Ukrainian New Year's, and the world of the jellyfish. All that and more on Go Island. We're here at the Strathcona in downtown Victoria, but we are actually going to take you on a trip around the world. And our tour guide, Ian Huey, who is the Whisky Fest master. Now, when we talk about whiskey, we really are talking about whiskey that is created from places all over
the world.
The planet.
All over the planet.
Why does geography play such an important role in the flavor of our whiskey?
Well, because Canada makes great whiskey and the others decided they want to copy it. However, the Scottish and the Irish were a little ahead of us. But we needed to catch up, and the rest of the world is still trying to catch up to them.
And here we are in Canada. We might as well start with Canadian whiskey. So are we well known for our whiskey?
Yeah, we're really well known for our whiskey. I mean, what common things do you even hear on the TV? You hear Seagram's, you hear Canadian Club, you hear that no matter where it's said around the world as the drink of choice. Right behind you is a magical Canadian whiskey.
You know I'm from Alberta.
Oh, marvelous. Whereabouts?
Edmonton. Born and raised, baby.
Born and raised. Well, look at this is Alberta Premium Whiskey. This whiskey got 95 points in Jim Murray's Bible. This is one of our premium products, the last and the only Canadian whiskey made of 100% rye. Bourbon. Everybody wonders what's the basic difference. Bourbon is corn whiskey. In order for it to be called corn whiskey, it's got to have 51% corn, cereal grain, as the base product. This one, Buffalo Trace, I mean, we've had the master distiller in Victoria, and he has just provided a wealth of knowledge about bourbon and converted a lot of whiskey drinkers that might enjoy other countries' whiskey into bourbon drinkers.
And it's from Kentucky. How can you not want some Kentucky bourbon? I just want some right now. But you know, I also hear that Australia does amazing whiskey, and we're going to talk about that. We are going to go down under. But first, our very own James Green goes underground to Hush Nightclub. We have that story for you. Now, let's go down under to Australia, who has a whiskey of its own. What do they have?
This is called Sullivan's Cove. This is from the Tasmanian Whiskey Company. And the master distiller, Patrick McGuire, came to our festival 3 years ago and presented this whiskey. And he was so thrilled to be on the island. And what was interesting out of this, Karen, besides being here with Sullivan's Cove, which was a great treat for us, and he was the person that's come the furthest to present whiskey for us, besides the ones. He knew more about Washington
than we did. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then let's go to France.
Oui, très bon.
Amérique. All of a sudden, first time Amérique shows up in Canada, Amérique shows up at the Victoria Whisky Festival, all of a sudden people are you sure that that's French whiskey? And we're saying, yeah, this is French whiskey. So this converted a lot of people to think beyond the shelf and say the Scottish or the Irish or the Canadians. And Amérique became the product of choice that year, which was just phenomenal as well.
Très bon. Well, how about Ukraine? Is there a Scotch in the Ukraine?
Well, I'm sure that there's Scotch in the Ukraine, but it's probably distilled in somebody's backyard. But there's Latvia for sure, and I'm sure that there is probably some small whiskey makers in the Ukraine that don't have their products exported internationally.
And I bet if they ever brought their Scotch out, it would be for New Year's, because they celebrate New Year's a little later than us. And after you see this story, you are going to want to celebrate Ukrainian New Year's every year. Nikki Iwanishin.
There you go.
Well, today on Go Island, we've been down under and we've been underground. And coming up, Jen Moranitz is going to take us underwater. And Ian from the Whisky Festival is going to take us to Wales. So don't go away. We are having so much fun on Go Island today. We are taking a trip around the world through the world of whiskey with Ian from the Whisky Festival. But first, we have a story from you from Jen Moranitz about the oldest fish in the world. They're even older than the dinosaur. If you want to get up close and personal with those jellyfish, go to the Shaw Ocean Discovery Center out in Sydney. It's a great place to go at this time of year. And you should also come here to the Strath to learn all about the whiskeys of the world. We've been talking about jellyfish and now we're talking about whales, but we're not talking about whales, we're talking about whales. Tell us about this Welsh whiskey.
This, Karen, is Penderyn. Penderyn's the only whiskey made in Wales. And this whiskey presented Victoria with an amazing thing that went worldwide, went viral. The distiller at the time was one of the only female distillers in the world. And she came to Victoria. And this whiskey was presented in a blind tasting with 17 other whiskeys, 45 people, mixed crowd, and at the end of the night, this whiskey won. This was chosen as the best whiskey.
It was a whale of a whiskey.
It was a whale of a whiskey and it was a whale of a story.
That's so cool. Okay, where are we going now, Ian?
Now we're going to head into the land of Scotland.
Okay.
And as you sweep through this great selection of whiskeys, every facet, every area, all of the whiskeys, all of the expressions, all of the regions of Scotland are well represented here. So you can have a very light whiskey and you can have something that's just loaded with peat that will just make your senses awaken.
We're going to talk more about Scotch. But first, Dan Kahn interviews a woman who will absolutely inspire you to get off your butt and make all of those New Year's resolutions happen. Okay, I know that motivates me. That's it. I'm getting back into shape. But first, I'm going to learn about Scotch. Now, Ian.
Yes.
We're traveling around the world
yes.
through whiskey.
Through whiskey.
Where are we going now?
We are going to land in Scotland for a while. And we can land in Scotland for many years and never get through every distillery.
There is a lot there. I find it fascinating, though. I saw a documentary over Christmas on the making of the Scotch there and how the peat plays such an important role. And, and it's just, it really is fascinating.
One of the great interests, Karen, is about Islay, because that has traditionally been where all of the big peaty whiskeys have come from.
Famous place.
Where the peat is cut right out of the ground and underneath the malting floor to create that sense and that flavor profile that is unmistakably Islay.
Thank you so much, Ian, for whisking us around the world through whiskey. And thank you all so much for watching. And we'd love to hear from you. You can email us, you can find us on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter, and send us story ideas, your thoughts, your comments. We just love chatting with you. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers, my friend.
Oh, yes.